Good evening. It's called Occupy Wall Street, and it's gone from a local curiosity here in New York City to a national movement. It now claims thousands of participants in person, many more online. There's several different agendas, but one common complaint: something is wrong in America, and the needs of the masses, especially the middle class, are being overlooked in the rush for corporate profits, what the protesters call corporate greed.
All day, all week, Occupy Wall Street!
So, what really is going on in Lower Manhattan? To some, it is the awakening of a vibrant progressive movement, a new, true voice of the people. To others, it is a mob of anti-capitalist rabble-rousers.
We are having an outreach!
It began on September 17th, when just a few hundred protesters took up residence in Sakati Park, a one-square-block area just steps away from Wall Street and in the shadow of the new Freedom Tower. Since then, it has grown exponentially. The number of people in the occupation itself is estimated to be in the hundreds. But when they spill into the streets to march, the numbers rise into the thousands.
Everybody stays on the sidewalk, press included.
The city of New York has spent more than $2 million in overtime policing a movement that shows no sign of slowing. With new people joining the cause every day, it has spread to dozens of cities across the country and even around the world. But is this movement just a passing fad? We spent a week among the protesters to get a frontline view of what the men and women there are careful to say is much more than a protest. They call it an occupation.
We're trying to grow, we're trying to make this movement much bigger,
And while much has been made of the fact that there is no clear central leadership, that doesn't mean there aren't some unlikely leaders.
My name is Grimwoman, and I'm an occupier.
We heard that she's one of the unknown number of architects behind the scenes of this movement. And with everything happening so fast, it was hard to track her down, and even harder keeping up with her. But when we did, Grimwoman had plenty to say. Grimwoman is not her real name, it's her Twitter handle.
Grim because the state in which I live is pretty dire, and woman because I'm a woman.
How come you spell it with a woman?
Because it takes the man out of it.
Getting the word out around the world about the Wall Street protest is largely the handiwork of people like her.
This is what democracy looks like! Tell me what democracy looks like!
While it may be the crowds of thousands marching in the streets of New York getting all the attention, they are just part of a more expansive protest that lives largely in cyberspace. And that's where the so-called Grimwoman comes in.
This is what it looks like, and as you can see, we have 13,000 followers, and that's 1,000 more than yesterday.
The website she manages is called We Are the 99%. It's now up to over 16,000 followers. It's full of unlikely portraits of Americans that feel lost, disenfranchised, often by what they see as relentless greed. A belief that a once caring country is now only for those out for profit. There are people with stories like this man. I'm 89 years old, refinancing my mortgages, and new interest rates sent me to bankruptcy. I've lost it all. Humanity before greed. I am the 99%. And from this woman, I've got no job, 3 kids, and cannot see a med. Me and my kids are the 99%.
This is resonating with people in a way that I've never seen any kind of action. I mean, it's heartbreaking. We have, at this point, 54 pages of these, and they keep coming.
We are the 99%!
We Are the 99% is no longer just a website. It's a rallying cry for the movement, referring to the vast majority of Americans whom protesters say are powerless in a rapidly changing 21st century corporate culture that they say is not about the workers anymore.
We've really just come to this place where corporations and business have really infected our lives and our government in so many ways that really are just not helpful and just at the end of the day hurt us as a community, as a society, as Americans, and limit our means of opportunity and limit the way that we really look at the world. Are you hungry? Do you want dinner?
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's go have dinner.
Is this gonna happen the whole?
She's been unemployed on and off for the past year, raising her 8-year-old daughter in Brooklyn, New York. And like many of the protesters camping out near Wall Street, she's frustrated.
I work really hard. I mean, I have worked since I was 14. It's not fair. I've paid for my education by myself. I'm carrying almost $80,000 in student loan debt that I hope once I get out of grad school I'm going to be able to pay off. My last job was a contract position that it was like 30 days, you know, set up all these systems, thank you, maybe we'll hire you back next year. Great, thanks, really, love it. So.
And that's why she's so emotional about what's going on online and on the streets. The Occupy Wall Street movement, she says, has largely been misunderstood. Some critics have said the group is full of everything from anarchists to lazy Gen Xers who should be looking for work and not for trouble. She says that's unfair.
The system does not work for anybody right now, and I'm a pretty accomplished individual in my real life. You know, these are not things that I should have to, any of us should have to deal with. Especially when, you know, we all work so hard for our families and for our communities.
Grimm acknowledges that she's just a single voice. One of the criticisms of Occupy Wall Street is that there is no consensus among the protesters about what they want. But Grimm says that's part of the point.
Everybody has a point of view, and we all have solutions to the table. I mean, that's one of the things everybody's like, well, you know, you have this demand. Where's your demand? You know, where's it coming? So you know what? We don't have everyone on board yet. How can we have a demand when we don't have everybody's voice at the table yet?
Bringing those voices together is a 24-hour effort. Broadcast from a makeshift control room among the sleeping bags, tarps, and donated food at the epicenter of the occupation. With little more than a generator and some tangled power strips, this table full of donated computer equipment has become the media hub where anyone can take the mic to give voice to the movement. And a lot of the anger is directed at the big banks that many blame for the greed and economic mess.
Bank of America, with inside of Bank of America, folks, we're cutting the card in half. Boycott Bank of America. That's right, Bank of America. You're going down, Bank of America. You're going down.
We have basically a 24-hour news channel operating online. You're really seeing here that it's a small group of committed individuals who are able to break news faster than traditional media sources. I mean, it's a pretty powerful statement.
Josh Boss used to coordinate online video streaming for a big box retailer until he was laid off. Now, he's one of Occupy Wall Street's live streamers. And when thousands of people descended on Wall Street in a march last week, Josh and others put together a mobile streaming unit to broadcast live through a website linked to occupywallstreet.org from deep within the heart of the demonstration.
So let's march on to Wall Street, show them what democracy looks like, and because we are the 99%. We are the 99%.
When we got to the plaza in Foley Square there, we were down in front and being able to televise, providing a forum for people who weren't able to be at Foley Square to tune in and see the progress and see the momentum that we had gained.
Thousands of followers online were glued to images sent from a backpack computer. But when you're working with a hodgepodge of donated technology, everything doesn't always go so smoothly.
It kind of goes in and out sometimes, and the live feed will drop, so it gets frustrating. So you have to keep monitoring the computer and turning the live stream back on, and you go back, and all of a sudden, people, 6,000, 7,000 people going, well, where'd the feed go? Wait a second, we were watching that.
But even if Josh's stream goes down, there are thousands of connected protesters capturing it all on everything from digital cameras to iPhones and iPads. What's not streaming is being tweeted, texted, and talked about, both online and in person. Those here say the technology is vital to keep the occupation alive and warm as cold weather approaches.
I just jumped on a few days ago because we needed blankets desperately. I was like, hey, my name's Bobby, we need blankets, we need waterproof things, and we need tarps, we need ponchos, and like we need them now. And then I was like, oh my God, 9,000 people. And you know what, like within 12 hours, we started getting a lot of donations, and I think that was why, maybe, I don't know.
For now at least, the occupiers are here to stay. Over the past 3 weeks, they've organized themselves into a self-sustaining community, complete with groups covering everything from medical to treasury, and even a working kitchen, kept going by a steady supply of food from outside supporters. There's even a newspaper. Another project Grim Woman has joined to help fight the fight.
A lot of this movement is come to these internet destinations so we can meet you in the street and we can make some noise and we can change the world.
But what that change may look like is unclear. As labor unions, celebrities, politicians, and other established groups join the suddenly popular and headline-grabbing cause.
We need to form an alliance with labor. We are with you. We are with you. Thank you. Thank you.
The occupiers are happy for the greater numbers and attention. But how the movement will be changed by all these new players remains to be seen. What is clear is that what started here in Lower Manhattan has injected a new energy and a new perspective into economic debates.
Beautiful.
If you've got it, watch it. If you don't, call your TV provider to get HDNet today.
But when they spill into the streets to march, the numbers rise into the thousands.
Everybody stays on the sidewalk, press included.
The city of New York has spent more than $2 million in overtime policing a movement that shows no sign of slowing. Sakati Park, a 1 square block area just steps away from Wall Street and in the shadow of the new Freedom Tower. Since then, it has grown exponentially. The number of people in the occupation itself is estimated to be in the hundreds.
Good evening. It's called Occupy Wall Street, and it's gone from a local curiosity here in New York City to a national movement. It now claims thousands of participants in person, many more online. There's several different agendas, but one common complaint: something is wrong in America, and the needs of the masses, especially the middle class, are being overlooked in the rush for corporate profits, what the protesters call corporate greed.
All day, all week, Occupy Wall Street.
So, what really is going on in Lower Manhattan? To some, it is the awakening of a vibrant progressive movement, a new, true voice of the people. To others, it is a mob of anti-capitalist rabble-rousers.
We are having outreach.
It began on September 17th, when just a few hundred protesters took up residence in